Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be replacing the engine air filter on a G30 with the B46 engine. We're going to be using the factory engine air filter. I'm going to go ahead and put the part number up on the screen for you right now. We're also going to need to remove the bottom trim here, the stabilizer bar, and then we'll finally get access to the engine air filter right underneath there. We're also going to be going over every single tool that you will need, and all the tools will be linked down in the description below so you can easily access all the tools you need. First on the list is going to be a 3/8 ratchet, something like this. Then you're going to need an E14 socket. This is the one that has the inverted star, something like this. You're also going to want a 16mm hex socket. It doesn't need to be deep, but that's just the one I'm choosing to use. You're going to need a 1/4 inch ratchet, a small extension, and a 6mm hex socket as well. This little panel popper here will be used to remove the push pins for the bottom trim. Now you can use a T20 either on a bit like this to put on the bit driver. This will make removing the T20 screws from the airbox a lot easier. If you don't have a bit driver, T20 handle screwdriver will be just fine. It'll just take a little longer, but it'll be okay. So let's jump into it. First, we're going to remove all these little trim push pins here. You're going to want to remove the centerpiece, and then you'll be able to release the entire push pin. If they do come out completely, it's perfectly fine. Doesn't really matter. You can just remove the whole thing, and then the bottom piece will be able to be removed. Once you got that removed, this trim will be removed, and you also need to remove the weather strip that is clipped into it into the front. You can either remove that rubber trim or fold this towards the front of the engine. I'm going to show you just removing the trim in case you don't want to do that, but essentially it's going to go under this little flap here, and then you just pull on it to remove it, and then the trim just comes right off. So now onto the stabilizer bar. We have a 16mm down here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this, loosen it up with my 16 first. Once I got that loose, I'm going to switch over to the E14 socket up top. We're just going to loosen that up. And then I'm going to go ahead and just use my my bit driver and remove the screws completely. Otherwise, I'm going to be spinning this socket for a very long time. It's just faster with the gun. So now that we got both of these removed, go ahead and remove the stabilizer bar. The airbox is going to have 6 T20 screws all around. I'll go ahead and show you with the camera right now where they are all located. You're going to have one down here at the bottom, and they're just all around the airbox. Now this airbox will have one additional T20 right here in the back. So first we're going to remove the band clamp here. That's that 6mm. Don't release the band clamp completely, just loosen it up. And then we're going to jump over to the connector here. You're going to have to remove the locking pin, and then you're going to push down on the locking pin to release the connector. Now sometimes dirt does get inside this locking pin and it becomes very difficult to remove. So with a small flathead screwdriver, you can reach underneath there to release the clamp if it is too tight. But basically you push down on this and that'll release the lock. So from the other angle, if this can't be done by hand, it's a lot easier to just go underneath with the flathead and just slightly pry it up. So that T20 in the back, this is it right here. This is the only T20 on the airbox that is going to be removed. So don't lose this. Once you loosen it up, it can fall, so make sure you have your hand ready to grab it. The other T20 screws are not going to be removed from the airbox. So now once you got to this point, you're going to want to remove the airbox from the 3 grommets. They can be quite difficult. You're going to really need to put some force in it. Don't be scared to kind of be a little rough if you need to, but within reason, of course. So once you have it loose, the intake pipe here is going to be pretty much stuck to the airbox. So you're going to want to reach underneath there with the flathead and break apart that seal basically. So you just get your flathead screwdriver underneath and run it across. This will kind of break up the seal that it has, and then you can grab the intake tube and pull apart the other side with the airbox, and it will come right off. But if you don't remove it with the flathead screwdriver first to try to break that seal, you're gonna have a really hard time, and you can break that air tubing, so make sure you break that seal first. Now we're going to jump over to remove the T20 screws. I'm going to use a bit driver to make this go by a lot faster. But remember, these T20 screws are not going to be removed, so they're going to be stuck inside the airbox just like this. Just because they can't be removed doesn't mean that they can't fall out. So I wouldn't do this over the engine bay how I'm doing here. Just do it outside the engine bay in case something does fall off. You don't have to worry about it coming down into the engine bay. So once you got the airbox completely disassembled, go ahead and pull out the old filter, install the new filter, and you're going to make sure that it goes inside these grooves here. Just fit them in by hand all the way across, all the way on the other side. Make sure you turn the airbox, make sure every single part is seated correctly. And once you've ensured that everything's seated nice and flat, we're going to go ahead and put the top back on. Very low torque on the T20s. I set the bit driver to the very lowest setting, and once the top of the engine air filter cover matches or touches the bottom, that's pretty much it. You don't need to go any tighter than that. Now underneath, you're going to see the three anchors that need to go into the grommets inside the body. You'll see them right here in orange, the 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to notice the inlet tube for the airbox. It's going to have these little small indents here and over here, and they're going to match up to the inlet tube. So when you slide this down, you're going to want to make sure that the airbox slides over this and matches up these three grommets. So just go ahead and slide that on over, and once you kind of get those in place, you're going to want to grab the intake tube and slide that over the airbox as well. And this is kind of be like installing it slowly by doing the lining up the bottom part, then coming back to the air intake tube, sliding it in even more, then going back to the grommets, making sure that's still aligned. So you're going to need to focus on all three things at the same time. Just get them in slowly, making sure everything's still lining up. And once everything's lined up, give it a good jiggle, make sure everything's still nice and tight. And now we can go into connecting everything back on. So the connector is real simple. You just snap it into place and then push the locking tab in. And then for the intake tube here, make sure that it's fully inserted all the way as far as it can, and then tighten down the band clamp. The T20 in the back, you just need to bring that into, align it to the airbox, and then tighten it down with the T20. Again, it's not much torque, just do it snug. And then for the E14 and 16 millimeter sockets, just go ahead and put those back on, tighten them back down, and you're pretty much almost done. Now when you're putting this trim back on, all you really got to do is just align it, the holes to where the push pins go right here, and then you just need to slide them all in. These are very easy. It doesn't really matter which order you put them in. Just put them all three in there and everything should line up. Just making sure everything's good. So you just put the pin in, and then you can also put the centerpiece in at the same time. So once you got all your pins installed, when you go to put it in this seal, if you removed it, I'm going to show you how to go ahead and put this back on. It can get a little hard putting it back on, but I'm going to show you the quick and easy way to do this. So first you're going to want to insert it into the slot as far in as you can. And once it's in as far as you can, go ahead and push down on it. You'll see here, you got to push down with your thumb to click into the plastic trim. And you're just going to go around the whole thing little by little, make sure You'll feel this when you're putting it in by hand. You'll feel that it makes that contact with the trim, that it's locked in place, and just rub your hand around it, make sure it's seated properly, and you'll be good to go. So that's the end of the video. If you liked the video, learned something, please consider leaving a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.